All right, Bobby Lee is in a bit of shit.
Not the one that died last night.
No, not God damn it. Here we go with that shit again. No, not Bob Lee.
Bob Lee was stabbed in the streets of San Fran.
Bob Lee's troubles are over. He doesn't have to worry about anything anymore because some bum shanked him in the streets of San Francisco. I don't like that people disagreed with my take on the Bob Lee Cash App founder murder thing. They said like, oh, no, it was a setup because he's suing a bunch of companies, so it was a hit. Why can't it be both? No, Mario. It was not Bob Lee Swagger, the guy in the movie.
We're starting over last night's show again.
No, it was not. What was it? Sniper? What was the fucking Shooter?
Shooter.
It's not the guy from Shooter. Michael B says, I will Cash App his funeral. Wouldn't it be terrible if they said Venmo your tributes? You got to use Cash App.
It's a bit insensitive, guys.
Yeah. Not Bob Lee from ESPN, you guys, for God's sake.
We're actually putting Bob Levy in the coffin now?
No, Bob Levy was not. See, here we go. Bobby Lee is dead. No, we're going to talk about Bobby Lee. Bob Lee was the guy from Cash App who got shot. Not Tommy Lee. He's fine. Not General Lee. He's been gone for a long time. Bob Levy is not dead, you guys.
I'm surprised Bruce Lee couldn't fight his way out of that one.
It wasn't Jet Li. See, you're not even close. Not Jamie Lee Curtis. You guys are reaching.
Jamie Lee Curtis. That's funny.
Lee Harvey Oswald is still alive. He's not, though. He was killed a long time ago. All right. Not Lee Corso, the college football analyst, but nice poll.
Lee Harvey Oswald is still alive?
No, not Christopher anymore, Lee, not Lord Summerisle from The Wicker Man. And not Lee Majors. No, he's not dead. All right. Look, I got to get away from the chat. You guys are. Bobby Lee.
We're out of control.
I was talking about something else. So people were saying that, like, oh, it was a hit job. And I'm like, Bob Lee, the Cash App guy now, before I get to Bobby Lee. Now I'm confusing myself.
Fucking figure it out.
Bob Lee, the Cash App guy.
Okay.
They were like, no, Aaron, it wasn't some crazy bum in San Francisco. It was a hit. Well, why can't it be both? Why can't they have just paid some bum in heroin and fentanyl and said, just make sure you stab this guy? Like, why can't it just be both?
Do you think you're cool? Or maybe it was just some psycho on the street, like a bum that has no idea who he was at all, wasn't put up by anybody, and he just kind of, you know?
Yeah, it might have been stabbed by a random psycho on the streets of San Francisco. Is that so hard to believe? So Bobby Lee, if we can switch gears now, Bobby Lee, the Asian comedian.
Still living and breathing.
Still living and breathing.
Kind of.
I tell you this. Oh, yeah, by the way, the guy who stabbed Bob Lee did say, don't fuck with Cumia.
God damn it.
Believe it or not. So, comedian Bobby Lee, different guy, still alive, not stabbed in the streets of San Francisco, no matter how many times Khalyla has probably tried. This poor Bobby Lee, man, it's just raining shit on this guy in the last year. He went through, his really? Woman went on vitamin B12. Ethan's podcast. Why can't I think
Vitamin
of it?
B12?
What the fuck? It's a letter and a number.
H3?
H3. Thank you.
Vitamin B12?
I couldn't remember it for the life of me.
I mean, he could probably use some B12.
He could use a lot of vitamins. I have never been more happy to forget the name of a podcast in my life.
That's impressive, actually. Yeah. Can I say something?
What?
Helicline? She's fucking like found herself recently, and she's kind of looking fucking hot.
You're grading on a curve.
Nope.
You're grading on a
She has taken some like Instagram pics lately that are smoking. I suggest you give her a follow.
I cannot go along with this, but all right, I understand.
Oh, he doesn't deserve her.
So Bobby Lee in the last year, he got totally cucked out on H3. Remember, he was like, I don't want you to talk about the Brendan shit. I don't want you to talk about the open marriage or the open relationship stuff. And what does Khalyla do? Talks about all of it. Hawaii talks about the whole thing. Then the Brendan Schaub drama starts, and you could tell Bobby Lee wanted no part of it, but Khalyla was she fucking jacking off to that shit, you know? Then we find out that Khalyla is a complete psychopath, manipulative, crazy person that Duggar hooks into Bobby Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And that Brendan Schaub really, I mean, if you look at that thing, was not that bad of a guy. He had some suspicions about Khalyla. He was just too stupid to connect the dots.
Right. He had the points plotted out. He's just not figuring out how they work together.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people who hate Brendan Schaub, and whatever, that's fine. He can be a goof. But you have to admit, he was not the bad guy in that Khalyla Bobby Lee thing. Khalyla was the bad guy, in that Khalyla Bobby Lee thing because she was dragging this guy who's got serious anxiety about confrontation and needlessly dragging him into stupid internet shit.
I think
that she was starting, and that Brendan Schaub did try to tell Bobby Lee, like, I think your chick's fucking around here on this shit. And look, if you don't quit fucking dragging my name through the mud, we'll let some stuff be known about you guys that you don't like. But then she went on H3 and ratted all that stuff out anyway.
Right in front of Bobby.
Right in front of Bobby, made him look like a total cuck. Then they break up, and he's got to go on his podcast and go, we're breaking up, but I still really love her, and she's so amazing, and she owns half my company.
And she's going to live with me.
And she's going to live with me until her and her family decide, bye, fuckface, we got enough of your money, we're moving somewhere else, which is now what she's done. Well, now, because Bobby Lee cannot catch a fucking break to save his soul, for some reason, TMZ and other places now want to bring up his Tijuana prostitute story that he told on Opie and Anthony fucking 15 years ago. Oh, man, do I feel bad for Bobby.
Okay.
I feel bad for Bobby Lee in a way, but also I realize that a lot of the problems in his life are of his own doing because he doesn't have any fucking balls.
That's true.
So
they're in Khalyla's purse.
You know? Yeah, she moved out with him. So
right.
If you don't know the story of the Bobby Lee Tijuana prostitute story, he was on O&A and he was telling stories, and I think Patrice O'Neal was there. And he was telling a story about how he had sex with an underage prostitute in Tijuana. Mm-hmm. Now, comedians historically are some of the biggest scumbags you'll ever meet in your life.
I've heard
I
things.
mean, just damaged, fucked up people. And typically, the more successful you are, the more fucked up and damaged you are. Well, Bobby Lee told this story about how he had sex with this underage Tijuana prostitute. And I remember this episode of Opie and Anthony very well. He did not tell this like a story that was being made up. He had details about, she was crying and she told him this and she told him that.
Too specific.
Just too specific. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for Bobby that this story is coming back up because now he's having to defend it. And when you're having to defend something like that and you know it's true, but it's damaging to your career if you admit it's true, so you have to come up with some excuse. And it's just like one of those kid lies where the adult has caught you and you're watching the kid try to explain their way out of it. And you're like, oh, this is embarrassing.
You almost feel bad for him.
Yeah, you almost feel bad for him.
Like, this is obviously a mistake and he's trying to move on with his life.
Yeah.
It came back.
Bobby Lee is defending a controversial story he's repeated over the years about traveling to Tijuana for sex and paying for an underage prostitute. Sordid for sure, but he says it's also total fiction. Now, does anyone believe that?
No. I mean, maybe somebody thinks it's fiction, but...
In my opinion, the guy was on a guy's show, like O&A.
Talking about guy shit.
Talking about guy shit, and he thought that the guys would really love this story about his life, and he felt he was in a safe spot to tell the story. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm at with the Bobby Lee thing. So let's watch his explanation of it, because now he's got this successful podcast, and it's starting to get some traction. People are listening to it because there's a lot of people who apparently like this damaged fucking douchebag LA comedy shit. I don't know who this shit is for. I think
half the people do watch to see how conniving she is too.
Maybe you're right.
There's a lot of Khalyla haters out there.
I bet you if you go back a year though, or whenever that Brendan Schaub stuff was, 8-9 months ago.
Yeah.
I bet you everybody's numbers are significantly down.
Oh, of course, because that was a big hitter for a little bit.
Let's watch Bobby Lee try and wiggle his way out of this Tijuana story, and you guys can tell us what you think the truth might be.
A story that I told on Opie and Anthony. Don't do this with your fucking thing. Don't do that. I told many, many years ago on Opie and Anthony, and there's been an uptick, an uproar about this story, and I've always wanted to talk about it, but the people around me are like, you know what, you didn't do anything, it'll die down. But I'm always like, yeah, but I can explain it. At the time,
If I could give advice to anyone in my just, couple of years on the internet here, if I could give you any advice, if you've got something like this in your past and people are goading you to bring it up, don't. Even if it is a lie, even if it is total bullshit, leave it.
No point addressing it.
No point in addressing it.
Because no matter what answer you give people, they will not be happy with it.
Right. People who hate this show and want this show gone have said horrible, horrific, untrue things about both of us.
Yes.
We laugh it off. We don't address it. And guess what? It's all gone. It's all gone now. I went on a guy's show and I laughed openly in these people's faces when they spurged out about this shit, and it goes away.
Sure, and anything awful that's been said about me, it's not like it changes your real life.
Right.
It doesn't change what the truth actually
Bobby,
is.
it doesn't change what the truth is. It doesn't change your real life. It doesn't change your trajectory going forward.
Right.
Just ignore it. Now, I'm saying that even if what they're saying is a lie, if it's not true. Now, in my opinion, the stuff they're saying about Bobby, he's admitted it in the past, and I have no reason to believe he was lying. If you said it and you admitted it, and now they're giving you heat for it again, don't fucking talk about it.
Right, because now talking about it or denouncing it or saying it was a lie kind of makes you look discredited
you're right.
too.
Even if you're telling the truth, it makes you look defensive, and people are going to think you're lying because you said it very honestly with a lot of details on a show that's known for being very open and honest, the Opie and Anthony show.
I think maybe at most, like you could just say, oh, we've covered this.
Right. Now you're talking about it in a very PR kind of way, so it sounds very scripted, very forced. Whereas when you told the story the way people are criticizing you, it was very natural and very, off the cuff. So let's see the way if there's a story out there where they go, hey, Bobby, you told a story on Opie and Anthony a long time ago about fucking an underage prostitute in Tijuana. You've made it this far. It hasn't followed you. It hasn't hurt you. It hasn't harmed your career. Shut the fuck up. Don't talk about it.
Yep.
There are many people in the world who believe that Christopher Walken had something to do with Natalie Wood's death.
Really?
That
okay.
Robert, number 2 from Austin Powers, Robert Wagner. Robert Wagner was with Natalie Wood. And they were on a boat, Christopher Walken, Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood drowned. She didn't come back with him. People believe that Christopher Walken may know something about it that he's not telling people. Do you ever hear Christopher Walken talk about it?
I sure as hell wouldn't.
No. It's in the past.
No,
it's over.
right.
Nobody cares.
No matter what the actual story was and you knew or did not know, I would not talk about that.
Don't talk about it because even if Christopher Walken, even if it was an honest accident, nothing happened, he tells you the truth, it's not going to feel like the truth to the people who have already made up their minds.
I had 2 jokes in my act, right? Yeah. The first joke, and they would only work maybe 40%, 30% of the time. The first joke was, it's not as bad. It's like, I went on a date the other day. She seemed pretty young. She looked like Natalie Portman. Pause.
Puffy.
Yeah.
From the movie Professional, right?
Laugh.
It's a switch.
Yeah.
That's what that kind of joke is.
Dark.
I'll tell you why the joke didn't work. It's just not very good.
No, that wasn't funny. I
Yeah.
didn't feel the urge to
It's like,
chuckle.
if you're going to do an underage joke, it's got to be so good and so out of nowhere and you can't see it coming that it gives you a shock laugh.
Right, kind of like trying to tell like a dead baby joke or something.
Right.
It's got to pretty much land or not.
You
Just
can't do
not.
a simple misdirection on a fucking a teenager joke.
No.
Like, it has to be so shocking and jarring that it pulls the laugh out of you.
Because now I feel like I'm making this face.
You're doing a wacky Bob Hope misdirection on a kid fucking bit. That's not it's not the place for a simple
It
misdirection.
didn't land.
Dark.
I mean, that's not much farther from knock knock. Who's there? Me fucking an underage girl. I was like, yeah, that's not how we do that joke,
okay.
Bobby.
Okay.
Second one, wait for the second one. It's way worse.
Gulp, gulp, gulp.
It's way worse, the second one. The other joke that I could only get work 20% of the time was, my girlfriend's grandma died a couple of weeks ago. And last night we were making love, and she burst into tears while we were making love. And I did what any good boyfriend would do. I power fucked her.
Yeah, 20%.
You see, this shit's not funny.
I'm starting to see why he's doing a podcast.
I mean, but he's bringing the non-funny jokes into the podcast now, and it's uncomfortable.
And what I don't like what he's doing is, like, in addressing it, he's deflecting. These are not the jokes that anyone has a problem with.
No.
People are talking about the Tijuana story you told on Opie and Anthony. Again, shut the fuck up. Don't talk about it. It's not necessary. It's not hurting you now. It's not going to hurt you later. Addressing it and giving it oxygen is what's going to hurt you. He should have signed some Tampa Accords on that Tijuana story.
Because in your efforts to squash this thing, you might say something that actually furthers the fan fiction out here.
It just keeps the ball in the air. That's
going to make it worse.
Right. This is something you said over a decade ago. people have already made up their minds on it. So if you bring it up again, trying to convince those people, you're fucked because they're just going to look too far into it and go, oh, nope, there's how he's coping. Nope, he's lying there. Look at that facial tick. Like they'll pick it apart because they want to see it the way that they already have made up their mind.
Dude, you and I have had to learn that lesson time and time again in the last few years, just with people in general. Like, they will see you as whatever they want to, so you might as well just leave them alone.
But the problem with these narcissistic LA comics is they cannot stand the thought of someone not loving them. They need this love so badly. So when people talk about this Tijuana story, Bobby Lee doesn't have the confidence to go, it was over a decade ago. Go fuck yourself.
I think that's why these two keep doing a show together, too. Like, why they can't just, like...
Right.
I know that she owns part of the company, but that can be undone, too. You, like, selling it or something. But they won't split up because, like, oh, you know, there's been love there before, and we have to continue that somehow. I don't know.
They can't live without the love of the audience and the people listening to them talk about their banal lives. And they know if they split up, neither one of them will be able to get as big of an audience as they can together.
Exactly it.
Yeah, 20%.
20%. That's a 20%.
It's a harsh joke. It's fucking terrible. And
Agreed.
I took the fucking Natalie Portman joke, that joke. I made up this Tijuana story.
Wait a second. You added 30 black Marines to your...
I'm going to get to that.
I've heard about this.
Wait a minute. Again, I've listened to this Opie and Anthony episode. This is pulling the wool over people's eyes. You were not combining two bits and then saying it on O&A. You were telling a story. You weren't telling a stand-up bit. First of all, Opie and Anthony and Patrice don't let you get away with doing stand-up bits on that show. They call it out and they smash people for it. So they would have sniffed that out immediately. And I remember you telling that story as a story.
I think this would be an interesting addition to this segment if we could find that video.
We'll find it, but it's really long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right. So then, but in my mind, I'm like, no one ever talks about the second half of the story.
The crazy part.
The crazy part. They focus on the Natalie Portman, whatever. It's terrible. Yeah. It's awful. Okay. But the second half is so crazy and, easily like, it didn't, it's obvious it didn't happen. I understand.
Stop. I just see it and I go, dude, turn the car around. Stop talking about this. It's not helping you.
He's done that thing that people will occasionally do before they just understand that people are going to be however they are, where he's like trying to give it context and all this stuff. Like, guys, you chopped it out of context. Like,
dude,
no,
you told a kid fucking story on the radio. Don't go back to it.
Right.
Not a bit to revisit.
Just stay away.
The uproar.
It was a tasteless, fucked up joke.
Yeah, because at the time when I said it,
like Khalyla fucking the dog or her brother.
Yeah, I'm sure those are jokes too.
Or jacking off the dog and fucking.
Yeah,
her
she
brother.
didn't fuck the dog.
It's okay because that's like Khalyla. Okay, that's like Khalyla coming by in another 10 years and they go, "Hey, remember your story you told on the podcast about jerking off a dog and fucking your brother?" And then 10 years later, she addresses it by going, "Oh no, I was telling the aristocrats joke." No, we remember the story you told. It was not the aristocrats joke.
Those clips are everywhere. There's no joking to it.
That's what happens when you do a fuck up and an overshare on the radio. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go back and you try to retcon the story and add shit to it so it doesn't look too bad. Like, you said that thing in the moment. Now you're taking the rest of your life to try and make it sound more palatable.
Yep.
You had a fuck up.
I think we just move on.
You overshared. Yeah.
literally didn't think anything of it. It was just like almost like prerequisite. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Prerequisite.
Prerequisite.
These podcasts are fucking good. These are just, there's broadcasting talent streaming out of these people.
This is kind of awful.
Right? It was like almost encouraged to say crazy shit. I never thought about it. Mm-hmm. When I listen to it now, it puts a chill down my spine. It's terrible because I changed with society, right? And I look at that fucking story and I feel guilt over it. It's
okay. Not only should he not be talking about this because I do believe he was telling the truth in that story, but he also shouldn't be talking about it because Bobby Lee is the worst Bobby Lee publicist historically in the world.
Yes, he does himself no favors.
Bobby Lee has never explained himself, and afterwards people gone, oh, well, that should be over with now.
Oh, I understand now. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, nobody's ever heard Bobby Lee explain something and not gone, oh, that guy doesn't seem like a neurotic fucking mess who's one breakdown away from ending it all. Bobby Lee is not the guy who should be talking about Bobby Lee shit.
He definitely makes himself an easy target, like a punching bag.
fucking terrible. it was stupid to say it as many times as I said it. But I understand the uproar.
But you never said the Tijuana story as a joke. Yeah, you told us 2 jokes that you've told on stage. But that, again, sounds like a guy retconning something to try to make it fit. That has nothing to do with the Tijuana joke. Again, I'm a big O&A fan. I remember the Tijuana story. It wasn't the Natalie Portman joke mixed with the power fucking joke. It was a whole story about an experience you had while you were on vacation. This is you trying to retcon the whole thing. Bobby Lee is in a privileged position where he's not a big enough star anymore. He's got a little podcast with a niche audience. He could have lived with this story on the outside of his bubble forever, and he never would have had to address it. Again, if Chris D'Elia can keep a fucking career going,
and he does,
with the accusations that he's facing, Bobby Lee can put a 12-year-old story to bed and not talk about it.
I agree.
I understand, why people, are upset about it. I'm upset about it. And I punish myself over it.
These LA people
so
are the
soft.
softest fucking people in the world. It's remarkable that these people can get out of bed in the morning and eat a bowl of cereal.
You punish yourself over it.
I punish myself over this story. Well, fucking stop, Bobby.
You don't have to.
You don't have to punish yourself. Nobody gives a shit. Oh, man, this guy. That's why I have a hard time believing that I just made up this story. Bobby Lee is one of the most neurotic, most uncomfortable, insecure people in the public eye ever. Probably in the top 10.
I bet the chick involved in this story doesn't even think about this anymore.
It was a Tijuana hooker. She's fucking dead.
Oh,
she's not alive anymore.
Wait, who takes a fun-filled vacation to Tijuana, by the way?
Somebody who's looking to fuck, prostitutes who don't tell.
That must be the vacation.
Yeah.
Every fucking second of every day, I go, you piece of shit. Why did you tell that fucking story? What are you, fucking out of your mind? You're dumb. And you know what I mean? And it's constant.
Why don't you beat yourself up some more?
Hey, you know what's really going to get people to stop talking about this story? Admitting to people that are bringing up this story that you think about it all the time.
And that you feel fucked up over it and guilty.
God, this should be played in like all so you want to become famous videos of like, hey, here's how you don't handle something. God,
right,
he's
this is like PR training on what not to do.
You can hate Khalyla all you want. She's a lot smarter than this fucking guy is.
She's brilliant.
You know what I mean? Internal dialogue. You know what I mean? It's like a fucking nightmare. And but at the end of the day, the way I get out of it is like I didn't do anything.
It's just not real.
It's not real. So I just always go back to like,
yeah, the dog. Don't worry, the dog jerker and brother fucker is co-signing what he's saying. So that
I
don't think a Khalyla co-sign is what you think it is.
No, check it out. I do think it's very interesting how some people, I know Khalyla Coon fans. I know some of them that really look to her like she's like,
really?
Oh God, yeah.
People like her.
I watch a lot of Trisha Paytas. She loves Khalyla Coon. I do not agree with that, okay? But
that makes sense.
She grew up in the whole YouTube thing, YouTube for 16 years now. But like people forget who they're listening to when they take like moral stances from them and they're sitting here listening to this show and they're like, oh, you know what? I trust these people, and they forget the things they've done and said. I don't know.
Like it didn't happen. It's not real. And I just know that this is not going to move the needle with people that think that I am a certain way.
Then that's my point. It's not, and it didn't. And all it did was keep this ball up in the air for longer. It just kept this story out there.
Fueling the fire. Yep.
Oh, man. Someone says Elisa Jordana is equal to Khalyla. Khalyla's way smarter than Elisa Jordana.
Well, part of me thinks that like Khalyla's been around Bobby for long enough that I think she sits there and she knows what the truth is, and she says things to keep the ball in the air as well. For him because she enjoys this somehow.
She enjoys this shit. Yeah, she wants to keep the ball in the air because the story, she's one of these
people. About her.
She's one of these just spell my name right people.
Yeah.
Where, hey, say whatever you want about me, what have you. Just, make sure you're saying my show's name. Make sure you're getting me clips.
Yeah.
Or clicks, excuse me. But Bobby Lee worries about what people think about him. Paul Carr says mental breakdown in real time. Yeah, he doesn't need to be talking about this. He can't handle it. It's a bad idea. Welsh Salty says, oh my, imagine if Elisa and Khalyla become friends. I'm telling you this, IP2 is where Khalyla's going if she loses this show. She's going to be an IP2 streamer.
I think Elisa is a nothing factor. Like, I think she is so obnoxious, not even a Khalyla would entertain that.
I think she absolutely. I think Khalyla is so desperate to be in front of a camera and performing that if IP2 was the only home she had, she'd go there.
I think
she'd go to IP2 before she'd live a private life.
Just from things I've heard and stuff, I think Trash Tuesday will live on for quite a long time, no matter what she's done or said.
I wish it would live on without her. The other two are not totally unbearable.
I think she's an important part to it, no matter what type of person she is. I think she's a big part of that show.
We are 2:30. Oh, hey, I had 3 teeth pulled, and we're 2:30 away from our goal today. Hey,
get it? Oh,
2:30.
God. Hey, how's your mouth?
I'm feeling pretty good today.
Hold on. You had medicine we missed our alarm, so it was at 2:45 this morning.
After the show. We'll get it after the show.
So you're good.
I'm not taking pills in the middle of the show.
I just want to make sure it won't get hurting. You know?
Thank you very much for that. But 2:30 away from our goal today. Let's get, I'd feel comfortable getting under 200 by the top of the hour. That would make me feel good about knocking out today's goal. Thursday's one of those days where you're like, we only have 2 left. Can knock it out, have a good, I start to feel pretty good about that. Your favorite e-beggars are 2:30 away from their goal. Thank you guys very much. Grant says Bobby has to drop her fast, kick her sponging family out of the house, and get out of the LA toxicity.
He won't.
Grant, my opinion is this, buddy. He's past saving. You're not saving Bobby Lee. It's over. He's gonna limp along in this life, whatever he's made for himself. Guys in their 50s, they don't make big changes like that.
Visually, to me, like, if I were to picture him as like a little character or something, he kind of walks around like this, like, hoping people stop hitting him. But then when people hit him, he's like, you know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. I did that thing, or I said that. You're right. And he's a little kind of a whipping boy.
Khalyla's not stupid. She picked the right person.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any saving him either.
Dumbtown. By the way, subscribe to Dumbtown. If you have a show, if you're a fan of our show and you have a show and you're cool, you like what we do, always feel free to promote yourself. If we've got people who love this show and support this show, we want to support you back. Subscribe to Dumbtown. They're trying to get a podcast of their own going. Check them out and subscribe to their channel. That goes for everybody who's got a show and likes Steel Toe. Dumbtown says, Mommy taking care of Aaron.
Yeah, by the time the show's over, it's going to be like 9 hours since you've had medicine.
I'll be all right. I'm a tough guy. Grant says Trash Tuesday is just the same cringe every week with Fatty Letterman doing the same jokes.
Aww.
Annie Letterman is someone who puts herself out there so much. She is hard. Like it's easy to understand why people would dislike her because she's a loud, brash female personality.
I actually don't know anything about her.
All I know is what I've seen on ROTC.
Okay.
And I can see why she would be like a polarizing figure.
Sure.
It like a male version. Like, okay, for example, I'm very loud and opinionated and everything else. I don't believe everybody should like me. Believe me, I know that there's a lot of people who find me despicable. I understand
You're a
that.
monster.
But I do think Annie Lederman is at least genuine. Like, I'd rather have someone be genuine and rub people the wrong way than have someone be like kind of a phony and a lot of people like them.
I don't know. When I don't know enough about somebody, I'm not going to go out and say that because I have no idea.